We live in a time in our nation where political polarization has really just went to extremes, with both of the major political parties running to the opposite side of the room from each other, literally. But the reality is, both the Democrats and the Republicans actually need each other. And the reason for that is that because these two parties have went to these two extremes, we actually need each other to pull themselves into a healthy middle ground position. Because generally speaking, extremes are never healthy. Extremes are never the answer. It's generally speaking the middle ground that offers the best solution to any set of problems. Both sides have good ideas, but the reality is both sides really don't go far enough. For example, Republicans want to protect the lives of the unborn by outlawing abortion. But at the same time, they don't mind killing babies with bombs over unnecessary wars in the Middle East. And the same could be said of the Democrats. Democrats, rightfully so, want to protect these immigrant children that have been brought into the country and have not been treated as they should have been treated. But even though they're very adamant about protecting those children, they don't mind the killing of the nearly 1 million native-born children who are murdered through abortion every year. Democrats want social programs to help the poor, and that's good. We need social programs to help the poor. But sometimes they go too far in what they want to use taxpayer money for to help people. And likewise, Republicans, they understand that you can go too far, but in their fear of going too far, they actually go too far themselves by blocking legitimate social programs that could help people who are legitimately in need. Some on the left would like to see government regulate business so much that it would be as if the person who started the business didn't even own the business and had no rights over the business that he had created. But on the other hand, some on the right want to go so far to not regulate businesses to the point that they'll allow them to exploit their workers. Neither of those is the solution. Democrats, for example, rightfully so, have wanted people to have legitimate access to health care, especially those who had pre-existing conditions or couldn't afford health insurance. But they go too far by wanting these health plans to include things like abortion, gender reassignment surgery, and contraception, none of which are health issues. They're other medical issues, but they're not related to a person's health. Republicans, on the other hand, want to go to the extreme, or have wanted to go to the extreme of not wanting to regulate the healthcare industry to the point that it has been allowed to exploit people. Neither one of these positions is the answer. There needs to be a middle ground that one gives people the health insurance that they need in such a way that no one is put at a financial disadvantage for having it. And on the other hand, they need to make sure that the healthcare industry is managed so that it is never allowed to exploit people. The point of all this is that neither side really has the answer. Both are too far to the extremes on most issues to really do any good. And what we need is a political party that's going to be in the middle, that takes the best from both sides and, finds that middle ground solution that really works best for everybody and then pursues it. Because we're not going to get things accomplished by putting ourselves in a corner, in the opposite corner from the other party, and saying, I refuse to work with you on anything unless you do it my way 100%. Well, that's a recipe for failure right there. And that's really why Congress and our government that's why we have so much failure here in the United States, because the two major political parties, they've gone to extremes and they refuse to find a middle ground that's healthy and that'll work best for everybody. It's time for a political party. It's time for both of the political parties to come together and be one that works to, focus on all these issues I went over today. We need one that protects all children, whether they're native-born, immigrant, or living in foreign countries. We need a political party that will make sure that everybody has the necessary health coverage that they need, and realizes that the key to economic success is not unbridled capitalism with absolutely no regulations, neither is it full-blown socialism, but instead is an economic system in which private capitalistic ventures are able to be easily entered into and also regulated such that people can never be taken advantage of or exploited by their company, and then taxed so that some of the profits can be used to help fund social programs that those who are less fortunate in our country need. It's only by meeting in the middle that we're ever really going to be able to fix the problems that we're facing here in the United States. The reason these problems are they continue going on, we continue to have problems here in our nation on a political level, on an economic level, on a social level. The reason for that is because the people who should be working together to try and find a common middle ground solution, they refuse to work together. They would much rather be on their side, pointing the finger at the other person, blaming them for the problems, rather than coming together in the middle and working things out. That's the mature thing. The mature thing would be to come together and try and find a common solution that benefits everybody. But we don't have that. We have a group of largely immature people on both sides who would rather be on this side of the playground throwing rocks at the kids on the other side of the playground, blaming them for the problems that both are responsible for not finding a solution for because they refuse to come together and find a healthy middle ground to work on. So the next time you think about our nation and all the problems that we seem to be facing and how Congress just can't really seem to fix any of it, remember and realize that the problem is people pushing themselves to extremes and refusing to work with people who have different opinions to find a healthy middle ground. Because if they would, we would actually fix a lot of these problems that we're dealing with, and our country would be such a better place to live in. But polarization is never going to get us there. Going to political extremes is only going to continue to cause and perpetuate the problems that we are experiencing here in our nation. I'm Daniel R. Jennings, and this has been another Life Lesson.